I'm looking to move into PMO roles. Is there any key areas that I should be learning that I would not necessarily get in project management, which I thought was a brilliant question. I've never had that question before. Eileen, how would you respond? What's your first
So
thought?
I think if you've already got training in project management, that's really a good start off because you understand what's involved in project management. And it's interesting in terms of what kind of role you're going to go into in a PMO, because if you're going into a project office, then actually you know all about the project management, so you know how to support the project manager in doing those various aspects. Interestingly, if you want to move into a program office, is a little bit more information in terms of how projects fit into that overall program. And I think the real what often happens is if you've done some project management, you roll into the center of excellence element, which is where we're setting up the processes and procedures on how we do things for other people in the organization, or for the project delivery team in the organization. And there is really about understanding this whole concept of services in terms of kind of what are we going to provide, and change management in terms of how are people going to feel when you change their processes and how they've got to work. So they're kind of two key things. And I think both of those, we always go back to behaviors, about recognizing about the key behaviors that are required. So we've got those listed in our PMO competency framework. We talk about what some of those kind of key behaviors are to actually kind of work in a PMO area.
I mean, I think when I look at this question and I think about back to my early days of wanting to get into PMO, making the assumption that this is somebody that's quite new to the space completely. There's a lot of underlying business skills, I suppose, in terms of how you deal with people. I certainly remember some of the early day training that I had was that simple things about how to do business-based writing.
Yes.
How to talk to people, but at a more senior level than you. And I was really lucky in the place that I was working that they did a lot of that kind of
nurturing,
coaching. That kind of thing. So I think it's when you realize just how many areas when you're in a PMO role that you're touching in terms of into the wider reaches of the organization. It is that kind of communication stuff, both verbally and written, that I think gets missed sometimes. I think also with with moving into PMO roles, I mean, and Eileen has said, there's project management, there's program management, there's portfolio management. And then if you look at some of the stuff that comes out of okay, fair enough, this is not for early days when you're walking into a PMO role, but when you look at some of the courses around things like the House of PMO Essentials, it shows you, because the core text there is one of these is PMO competency framework, and it shows you just how many different areas that PMO fits. And you mentioned change management. There's obviously leadership and management stuff. There's things like business analysis. There's quite a lot of data related things, so data analysis, and certainly now, in the whole AI space, there's other things there. And I think it's just amazing how many disciplines, is one of a better word, that it can touch.
And you can specialize.
Exactly.
They've got the opportunity to kind of specialize. So if if you've done a bit of project management, but you really, really like planning, or you really, really like risk, there's an opportunity to go that into much more detail. And I think for me, the kind of building on what Lindsay said, it's being able to communicate it. I was doing I had a call yesterday with somebody who's done some great work on PMO metrics, but actually, looking at it, it looks fantastic. But what is required is how to further, kind of present that in a way that makes sense to lots of other people, so they can kind of communicate their work. And a lot of the role with what we do in a PMO is being able to kind of communicate with people.
Yeah.
In an appropriate manner.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, just that would be my obvious ones for the people starting, but I also think it's a great question, just generally if you've been in the area for a while as well, because actually you could change that question, which is what are some of the other key areas that I could be thinking about in terms of my professional development and securing, I suppose, my career in PMO for the future, which is where I think a lot of the kind of data analysis type stuff is really going to be a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we all know that, the data analysis is great, but unless you put that communication and storytelling around it, so you can actually kind of share that with other people, it becomes kind of very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is as well, where you kind of from a PMO and perspective, is the coaching and mentoring, because a lot of the times you're working perhaps with project managers and program managers who may well be very senior to you, but actually you've got to coach and mentor them in terms of how to kind of follow the process that the organization's got, or fill in a particular template, or get information. And so it's really kind of a coaching approach you might need to take in the communication.
Okay.